Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello and welcome to All for United. We're here for the post-match reaction show after a thrilling, if not topsy-turvy and a bit of a precarious 3-2 win against Tottenham Hotspur at Old Trafford. I'm here tonight with Fred, I'm here tonight with John, I'm here tonight with Kai and Reese from the Man United podcast. Not the official Man United podcast, I must add.
Hopefully one day.
Hopefully one day. Hopefully you'll be Sam Homer one day. Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo has obviously come to our rescue tonight after most of the team went missing last week and Cristiano Ronaldo went to Portugal. He fully turned up tonight and delivered a hat-trick for us to win 3-2 in the end, and in the process becoming, I believe, according to the stats, well, there's a bit of debate, isn't there, but the all-time leading goal scorer according to FIFA, which is obviously an immense achievement, and that's what he does, and he's scored all kinds of goals tonight. But let's just get into the match really, and firstly, I guess Fred, it's all about Cristiano Ronaldo, isn't it? What a performance! I think. Is that arguably his best performance since he returned to the club? Because I would personally say so. That it's been patchy in form-wise in some games, and took a lot of flack in the last 10 to 12 games over his scoring record. But he made up for it tonight.
He did, absolutely. And I think if this is what he's like after a brisk visit to Portugal, then maybe we should arrange that more midweek. But he was fantastic tonight. I must admit, before the game, when I heard that Bruno and McTominay and potentially De Gea this morning were all potentially absent, I did fear for the worst. But it was a good performance. It wasn't a great performance, but Ronaldo and I would pinpoint Fred as well, being in that category, had fantastic games. And yes, I'd probably say his best game for the club since his return this season. I think I saw a stat there. Despite his hat-trick, he had an XG of 0.85 only. So that just it's brilliant. And it's very contradictory to how we've been in recent weeks where we failed to capitalise on our chances. So that's a big positive. But I think the theme of the game was very similar to how it has been. We had a very good first half in terms of performance, whereas then second half it sort of faded away. I think that overall the game, there were patches where both teams lacked the quality. However, we took our chances and Spurs didn't. So a lot of positives to take away. But the same, in my opinion, the same issues were reoccurring. A lot of players looked leggy and tired as the second half progressed. Yeah. I thought Ralph used his substitutions well again. He brought Cavani on, he brought Elanga on at a very vital time, just where Spurs were capitalising. But yeah, overall, it was a good game. We needed the 3 points. It would have helped if we had this sort of performance a few weeks ago, and we could have gone full steam ahead for top four. But we've got a tricky month ahead, so hopefully it's a catalyst for better things to come.
Yeah, definitely. John, I guess we might as well get your thoughts on Cristiano Ronaldo first, because that is the headline with a hat trick, and you kind of sensed the hat trick was coming tonight, didn't you? From unleashing that shot for the first goal. I mean, it was kind of out of nowhere. That first 10 minutes, it was a bit tentative from both sides, as was said quite a lot on commentary. But then, it just exploded out of nowhere. Lovely flick from Fredo. I know you want to pay a bit of homage to tonight for his performance, because that was also probably one of his best performances we've seen from him recently. And again, Cristiano Ronaldo, well, we talked about before we came on, that's probably his best performance in United shirt since his return to the club. But yeah, your thoughts on that overall, and his first goal, John. Let's just
no, it was a magnificent performance from Ronaldo, and his third seven. This was the most important game of the season period. When you needed him most, boy, did he deliver. And I just think, like you mentioned, the first goal. I mean, when you those of us who remember his first spell at United, all the great goals he scored, that first goal will rank above, will rank highly compared to the goals in his first spell. And like you mentioned, Fred played an important role in that. And we should mention that it was a brilliant flick by him. But Ronaldo, he's the greatest goal scorer of all time. And the FIFA stats back that up, but even without the stats, I personally believe that. And the stats keep running. I think the third goal was the first header he scored in the Premier League since his return. He's also, and unbelievably, all the goals he scored this season, all but one of them have been either, I suppose, ahead in the game or to equalise in the game. And it's just, it was a brilliant performance from him. And he's, like I say, when you need him most, he delivered. And he's been criticised. He doesn't always help the team, but boy, when you need him to deliver, he did deliver. Like you say, he was man of the match, in my opinion. But for me, Fred, his performance, I personally think.
Oh, he's gone. Just cracking up a bit there. We'll come to you, Kai. Anyway, there he is. Yeah, we'll come to you. There has been a lot of talk about Ronaldo not necessarily helping the team as well, but his all-round performance was decent tonight as well. I thought, there's been occasions where his first touch maybe hasn't been there, but tonight he seemed like he had something to prove, and I think he's probably at his best when he's like that, when he's got when people are giving him a bit of flack. I mean, there's a few of the United team, obviously, that have been getting a lot of flack, and rightfully so, you'd say, really. But yeah, your thoughts on his performance tonight, Kai, and just his impact.
So I'll put a disclaimer. I'm one of the biggest Ronaldo fans ever.
Okay.
I'm also one of the biggest realists ever. I also believe in this thing called Father Time, and that it does get to you. And I do believe that today's performance probably coincided with the fact that he also had a rest. So he wasn't a part of that chaotic, terrible performance against City. So he didn't have that baggage to carry with him either. And I do think that if he starts to transition his mindset to being something like a Zlatan, something that is more for the team. So this means being okay with taking the odd rest in between so that he can be ready for the next game. Because I think these type of performances where he's looking much fitter, more, with less baggage all over, no focus too much on him, then we're going to see these type of performances a little bit more, because he's, he is old now. Like, he really is old now. And you can see, like you're saying today, his first touch was there. That was good. But then again, it also shows how bad Tottenham are in those areas, because actually both teams, because United get into that final third space too easily from Tottenham's point of view, and also the other side as well. And I think it was just a combination of a lot of things, because why would you leave Ronaldo 35 yards from goal to just take a clean strike like that? There is something obviously, wrong in that midfield setup from Spurs as well. So I think it was a combination of a lot of things. It's not a disservice to Ronaldo. I just think he's rested. He's well rested. There's no baggage from midweek. Nothing was his fault. And I think the more he takes that sort of mindset to say, all right, you know what? I take a rest. I come back, take a rest, come back. I think we'll see this kind of Ronaldo a lot more often. But yeah, we could very well see Ronaldo tired again on Tuesday. Like, it's possible. So I think we have to take today's performance with Spurs in mind.
Yeah, definitely. There's a phrase Spursy for a reason, but to be fair, Spurs have been quite a lot like us, to be fair. I don't think you could. I mean, a 3-2 scoreline probably indicates it's pretty even between us. They can go to pot just like we can go to pot.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's, sorry, just to say, it's just the execution thing. It's always about who executes the best on that specific day with United and Spurs. So, like today you find, United finally finished our chances and, Spurs didn't do anything. And in another game, it'll be the other way around where, so it's kind of like, we are similar to Spurs in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, Reece, your take on Ronaldo first, and has he benefited from that rest? Was that the problem all along? Were we just overplaying him? Because I think he has does he have the second or third most minutes for United this season overall, something like that? Behind De Gea and maybe Bruno. So is that part of it? Maybe.
I mean, it's difficult to say with Ronaldo, isn't it? Because he's such a fit guy. So I think it was more mental than anything else. I think the other guys, and Kai definitely has touched on that. I think the break's done him some good. I think it was more the way that he was approaching the games, because both Kai and Fred have said about his first touch. When he was back to goal, it was instant first touch into Pogba. They were playing him behind. I think a couple of times he was taking snapshots instead of taking one or two touches extra on the ball, and that was definitely better. And I think he was just in the right place at the right time. I think mentally he probably looked at his game and looked at the games where he probably didn't perform and wondered where he needed to be, in a sort of around the pitch a little bit, a little bit better, really. I think he just improved that side of his game. He did the right things at the right time in the right areas. And he didn't need to do as much running. I don't know if you guys sort of thought that. I don't think he was sort of chasing the game too much.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that, the game obviously was wide open. Both teams struggling in both areas, and that's defensively. Shocking at the back, good going forward. Obviously got some unbelievable power up front of Spurs in Mora coming on in the second half, and Son obviously looking dangerous, Kane, and then we're the same. Sancho was brilliant in that game, linking up with Ronaldo several times. But I think Ronaldo in general, it's all in Ronaldo's head. The standard that he's setting at that club, even now at 30, 36, 37 years old, is just impeccable, isn't it? Even to do it now and score a hat-trick. So I think for me, it was just getting the technical elements of his game sorted. A couple of times he got caught on the ball in previous games, and he didn't do that once today. Instantly out of his feet, running in behind, and he just seemed to know what he was doing, and I think that showed. So probably just looking at his game, looking back at videos of old games, and realizing what he needed to do. I think that was probably what he sorted out in his head, or maybe just laid on the beach. I don't know, but one of the two.
Yeah, I think the rest definitely benefited him, but I think, like we said, we've had both sides of Ronaldo this season. Where when it's been poor, but when it's been really good, it has been really good. He's delivered some absolutely massive moments for us, which is testament to him at that age as well.
I think he likes pressure, doesn't he? I think we all know that. He likes to be under the cosh. He likes to be people almost writing him off, and I think that equally helps his form as well. Obviously, a big game again midweek next week as well. So I'm sure this will help him on and spur him on to put another big performance in for us. But yeah, unbelievable. The goals that he produced were just incredible. That first goal, wow. That shades back to that season in 08-09. It's just
it did.
08-08, it was just ridiculous, wasn't it? So yeah.
The way he hit it was reminiscent of some of those absolute screamers that he scored. To bring it back to the pre-game stuff, we've had a comment as well saying we don't talk about Bruno, and normally we would. I think that was the big story before the game, wasn't it? That Bruno wasn't going to be involved. There was a scare with the COVID stuff as well, with De Gea producing a false positive, end up being negative and starting the game. Were you worried before the game, Fred, with a lack of Bruno? I mean, a lot of the time for United in the last couple of years, especially under Solskjaer, when Bruno wasn't involved, things fell apart pretty rapidly. But obviously, he's played Pogba in his position today as well. So your thoughts on how you felt pre-game and how Pogba did in kind of filling in his position?
Sure. I alluded to earlier. I thought Bruno was going to be a big miss today. I think it's no. I wouldn't be putting a word wrong if I said he's probably been our most consistent, best player over the last few years since he signed. So he rarely misses a game, which is one of his biggest strengths. Actually, he's very reliable in that regard. But so when I heard that he was missing today, I was worried. However, that then my main worry actually came from seeing Matic and Fred partnering. I think that's probably before the game. I thought that's actually our weakest midfield combination. In the end, I think they actually played well. I refer back to the Leicester semi-final in the FA Cup a few years ago when they started, and they sort of played both in the 6 role, whereas today Fred played a bit more advanced. He had a bit more freedom, so it kind of worked actually. Pogba obviously stepped up. He played behind Ronaldo, very good with the ball. I think he's very questionable without the ball, Pogba, and it's an area of his game where probably doesn't get spoken about as much as it should. He can do everything with the ball. He's fantastic, passing ability, very good at linking up play. Off the ball, his movement's not great. And in the first half, I actually think it led to a lot of sideways passing from the defence and Matic, with there not being an out option. However, the big thing I noticed today, seeing that in Bruno's absence, was for some reason this year, Bruno seems to be closing down on his own, and we don't. There's not a team sort of. We're not pressing as a unit, and the problem with that is Bruno will just run towards the ball, and what that does is that leaves such a big gap between the attack and defence, and what usually is McTominay playing behind him. That just puts so much pressure on our midfield, and they don't know whether to press with him. So the midfield will go forward, and then consequently that leaves a gap between the midfield and defence. So today it looked quite balanced actually. I'm not saying that was mainly just down to Bruno's absence, but it did look balanced. I think everyone stepped up. Like I said, Fred had a very good game. He probably compensated for those gaps. He was just running everywhere all game. But I think a big issue which we need to address as a club, aside from Bruno, is our wide players aren't tracking back, and it was very worrying in the first half. Tottenham were overloading us on the wide positions with their fullbacks breaking forward, and Dalot and Tellers were just caught in 2 versus 1 situations most of the time. So I'm happy we coped with that, Bruno, but there's a lot more issues to discuss as a team, rather than a few individuals missing. Let's put it that way. But we got the win. That's the most important thing.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, I think you're right there, and I think a lot of the time, especially early on under Rangnick. Sorry, we've got someone waiting to come in. Abdul. Hi, Abdul. We got. Hey guys. We had Bruno kind of doing Ronaldo's pressing at times, and that kind of left us open. But John, we did get cut through quite a few times, didn't we, in the first half? And it felt like we were living dangerously as soon as we scored the goal, basically. I think Tottenham were cutting through us with Son and Kane and Kulusevski. So it felt like a goal was coming. It was disappointing that it came in the way that it did. But they looked dangerous, and they probably earned that penalty, didn't they? And it probably was a penalty as well, I would argue.
I would agree with that. I think I think what you come down to is we won the game in the crucial moments, but to be clear, there were periods where we didn't play that well. Obviously, when we went 1-0, invited pressure from them. I agree with you. It was unfortunately, a penalty in my opinion. Sometimes you see defenders go with arms behind their backs because Tellers didn't do that, and that's what led to the penalty. Our full backs were exposed at times. Obviously, Tellers for the penalty, and also Dalot for the second goal because there was no person marking Regulon on the left-hand side for Tottenham, and it wasn't a perfect performance by any means. There were times where our defence looked exposed. You felt with Tottenham that they're going to be a threat in an attacking sense, and they showed that today. But you also know with Tottenham, they'll give you chances the other way, and that's where we won the game. And basically, to answer Fred's point about Matic and the Bruno thing, I actually would have considered dropping Bruno anyway, even though he's ill and that. Obviously, Abdel in his preview mentioned that he doesn't always help the team when it comes to pressing because it means he does on his own. He's out of position and that. I actually felt we had no other choice but to play Fred, Matic and Pogba in the midfield. And I was actually confident because Matic is possibly our best passer of the ball. Fred, with his energy, when it comes to energy, I don't think there's any other player like him in the team, He'll run for you all the time. And for me, he's a massively important player for the team. But also, it did allow us to play at times. But like you say, there were times when we were defensively exposed. And Tottenham, from their perspective, will be disappointed that they didn't capitalise on it. But effectively, the 2 goals were gifts, the penalty and also the Maguire on goal. And we have to improve on that. We can't be giving teams gifts going forward. But thankfully, it didn't matter today in the end.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think, like we said, we have lived dangerously tonight, and there were some interesting comments from Gary Neville. I think we'll bring you in on this one, Abdul, because I know you were talking about pressing in the preview before the game. But Gary Neville said that there's not many worse teams, or no worse teams or whatever, that are as bad as United against the ball. Which, when your manager is Ralph Rangnick, who is the builders, the master of gegenpressing, that's pretty damning for this team, isn't it? And is that where all Tottenham's chances came from not being able to press the ball properly and standing off too much, or is it something else? I mean, we saw around the time of the first goal, we heard Chris Armas shouting for Fred and Matic to swap. Was there anything in that as well that improved things, do you think?
I think there's not much that he can do. There's this thing called compatibility when you're putting a team together. It isn't just put stars on an 11 and they will play good just because they're all good players. They have to actually complement each other. And this squad, we've said it so many times, they're unbalanced. They don't fit each other very well, right? So, like the profiles we had today, we have Ronaldo, Sancho, and who did we have? Rashford up top, right? 2 of them are very identical in what they do and what they don't offer off the ball, and one of them is okay. So, and then when you go back to the midfield, you have Fred, who's an 8, Matic, who's a 6. Sorry about that.
So my dog's whinging behind me anyway, so don't worry.
Yeah. Matic was a 6 with Pogba. Pogba had a really poor game today, so he was completely ineffective in the game. So the switch between these two the compatibility between these profiles make it hard to press. So Matic can't press, Rashford can't press, Ronaldo can't press. So who are you pressing with, really? Right? So obviously we're not going to look good. Obviously we're not going to press well. So I blame that more on the personnel that we have than the manager. Right, because the personnel that we have aren't built to press to begin with.
Yeah, it's you've not got your wide players tracking back. Then he's going to be pretty used to that, isn't he? So, in terms of their goal, I mean, it felt like it was coming, obviously, and at that point, did we fear that the wheels were gonna fall off? Because I know I did. I was making a note after they scored. Do the wheels come off now? Thankfully, we were back in it straight away, Kai. But were you fearing the worst in the sense that we've looked fragile in any sort of pressure recently on United? It's kind of made things go a bit south. But they actually responded pretty quickly, and it was a lovely goal that Ronaldo scored for the second one. Not so much from his angle, but Matic's ball over, runs in behind from Sancho and Rashford, who was also looking. And that's the sort of thing that you want United doing as well as counter-attacks. You want players running in behind and stuff like that. So I think that was positive to see. And like I say, positive to see that the wheels didn't come off instantly, even though we were living dangerously throughout.
Yeah. Well, two things. Firstly, I'm happy to see Abdul here because I've got a question for him, which I just cannot figure out, which I'll ask just now. Well, secondly, look, I'll be very, very honest with you guys. I have learned as a United fan from Arsenal fans to not have hope. So essentially, what happens is I'm expecting us fully to mess it up, and then I then just wait for the game to just flow, and then whatever happens happens, and then I'm like, cool, because this has happened too many times this season whereby we're like, oh yes, it's happening, and then 2 seconds later we concede, and then it's like, but what was going, why were you guys so excited, what was going on? Like, so for me, I'm just always happy to see, if the final result is, positive like it is, I'm like, okay, fantastic. But generally, yeah, I was happy that they kept it together today. But again, it's Spurs. So I expect the same type of thing from Spurs. It could have gone either way, actually. Probably the Spurs fans are sitting there together saying, oh, the wheels came off, guys, or something like that. So I do think that is that is one thing. But I just wanted to also say one thing about Bruno as well. I was just happy because of the fact that isn't United one of the most obvious teams to play against if you're an opposition team? Like, that Bruno is the guy. So what do? You always plan for the guy. And it doesn't matter where you put Bruno, he essentially is the same guy. So he always finds himself in the same positions. So I find that like probably most managers just prepare, just say, okay, fine, guys, we know what's going to happen. They need to find Bruno. He's going to be in these three likely positions over here. Either he's going to do this, he's going to do this. But when nothing works, he's going to be up front and he's going to be playing he's going to make some sort of a 4-2-4 happen or something like that. And then, so I was happy that for a change, he's not there. So something else has to happen. And essentially, I would like to see Ralph Ragnick at least try and experiment with more things, maybe with him sometimes, without him sometimes, bring him on sometimes randomly, and then, confuse the opposition and not make it so straightforward every time that you're playing the one guy that everything goes through and your plan is the same. You stop him and then, everything else goes away. So I was happy about that. And then my question for Abdel, sir, what is going on with the fullbacks? Like, I don't understand. Maybe I just don't understand the concept of how they're meant to position themselves. But I feel like our fullbacks are always so tucked in and they get out way too late, or there's just something that happens. We always get overloaded that side, even when there's a winger there, even when Ilanga is tracking back, even when someone's tracking back. It's always triangles playing around them two on the sides. So I mean, what is that? What's going on with that positioning at United? Even Spurs as well. Their fullback positioning is so bad. Do you maybe have I don't know, because it's all of them. So I don't know.
Do I come in here?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so basically it goes back to the point of compatibility, right? So under Ollie, before we had Shaw, he was in a really, really good form last season. And then we had Aaron Wan-Bissaka, completely opposite fullbacks to what they do, right? And then you have Telles and Dalot right now. Let's assume that they're the main choice for Ranić, but they're also very completely different in what they give, right? So Shaw's proficiency was more on the progression side, and he was accurate with his crosses, although he didn't cross as frequent as Telles. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka was the defending 1v1 and all that stuff. And then on Dalot and Telles combination, you have zero progression from Telles, and then you have progression from Dalot. The only thing that Telles really brings to the game is a bit of energy and aggression and accuracy with his deliveries. So the crosses, the set pieces, the stuff like that. Tottenham is facing the same thing, different profiles that are not really matching up together. But for us specifically, let's say you want the fullbacks to be the main creators, right? So that you need them wide. Your fullbacks need to help you wide so that you break down a low block. Now, if you look in front of them, what are the profiles in front of them? You have a winger, and you have Rashford, who's more in between a striker and an inside forward kind of thing, right? So one stays wide and one cuts in.
and comes in between. Now Sancho can't cut in and come in between, right? But they're different. So what we're doing currently is called something called asymmetrical positioning, right? So when the ball is on one side, right, the fullback on the far side of the ball tucks in. When the ball is on the other side, the fullback of the other side tucks in, right? And their job is to go out once the ball is on their side to maintain the width while the winger cuts in. But again, it goes back to the problem of, do these profiles actually complement what their wingers or their inside forwards bring? No, because if you look, let's take City and Liverpool are the perfect examples of how to play. Let's say, and I know as United fans we hate it, but let's say we take them. Their system is built on, for example, Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah. They're both inside forwards. They're not wingers, right? So they just maintain their width to the point where their fullbacks are coming in, and then they just go inside. And their fullbacks maintain the width for Liverpool all the time, and they create from the wide areas. The opposite is true for City. City by wingers who maintain their width all the time for their eights to come into the channels, the inside channels, the half spaces, right? And then the task is now they buy fullbacks who are very highly technical but can play in midfield. Yeah. So that's why both their fullbacks tuck in midfield, right? With the opposite of Liverpool don't buy fullbacks to tuck in midfield because they just want creators in their fullbacks that can whip crosses, accurate crosses into the box. We have neither or. So we're in between. Like, we have neither technical fullbacks that can actually deliver crosses or progress the ball. Neither we have defensive fullbacks who are highly technical and get into midfield. So we're kind of doing it synchronously, depending on the profile that we have on the field, which is it's a confusing thing for all the players on the field, basically.
Yeah, and it's always changing as well, isn't it? I mean, there's not been much consistency in the fullback choices. I mean, Wan-Bissaka has been in the last few games. Diogo Dalot's it's been missing for the last few weeks, and people have been scratching their heads about it, haven't they? And obviously Luke Shaw's missing for COVID.
Like,
so.
Last season, it was a bit fairly consistent because the first choices were Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw. So Luke Shaw knew what he needed to do every single game, and he was the main hub of creation with Fernandes. He was carrying that job. Both of them were our high creators. So every time that's why we relied on the left-hand side so much. So every time we go down the left-hand side, because we rely on Luke Shaw and Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford, that combination of players, with Anthony Martial also shifting to the left a little bit. So Aaron Wan-Bissaka knew his job, which is stuck into midfield, try to stop any counterattacks, handle people one-on-one. Right now, with the drop in form and Shaw, we keep going right and left. We don't really know which way is our better way to create. So we keep interchanging, and I feel like the fullbacks don't really have clarity on their roles.
Am I able to just add a little bit to that, Simon?
Well, I was going to come to you anyway. I had something to ask you, but you go.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think the difference that you see from the top three clubs at the minute, and Chelsea have been a prime example. I think this season, and Gary Neville talked about it like early on in the season about how integral both fullback positions were for these top three clubs. And Chelsea lost Chilwell, and they lost Reece James, didn't they, from big injuries, and they just slowly sort of went down the pecking order in the league a little bit. The rest of the teams now are dominating those positions. I think when we played City at Old Trafford, Cancelo dominated that game. Now, the reason those top three clubs dominate it, as much as I agree with Abdul, I think the reason they dominate it really is possession, the control a game. They allow the fullbacks to get further afield, knowing that they're not going to have to run 60 yards back to have to defend because they've got control of the game. They've got midfielders in there who are keeping the ball, ticking over. They're keeping the tempo. Today, countless amounts of times, I mean, just to kind of touch back on some of the other sort of points, really. I mean, 18th minute, we nearly conceded a goal. It was just offside. Davies gets a goal, and that was from lack of control. We gave the ball away in our own half. Matic tried to clear the ball, gave a free kick away, which resulted in the handball penalty. Lack of control. I mean, the amount of times today, Pogba was good today, when he won the ball, but then was too slow on the ball and then was poor. So he was strong, but then when he had to give it, which Bruno would have done today a little bit, and he would have given it quicker, he lost the ball in his key areas. You know, Matic, who's usually our best passer, he got an assist today. It was brilliant. But generally in those midfield areas in our own half, when we need to get our foot on the ball, get it wide and get some control, we were poor. I mean, we went 1-0 up, and that's when we should have sort of killed the game off a little bit, sort of approaching half time, sort of midway through the first half. And we're just giving the ball away in silly areas, costing us, chances to Spurs, giving things away, silly things away. There was another chance that Kane got early in the second half when he just picks the ball up in midfield. He's able to just turn on the ball and just sprint at our back four. It was just really, really poor. And it's just sometimes when you get in front, I mean, City did it to us last weekend as much as it was frustrating. And obviously we don't want to bring too much of the negativity up, but they went in front and they just killed the game off, knocking passes around and just slowing the tempo down and killing the game. And that's a little bit, I think that was Rangnick's biggest bugbear when he first came into the United job, that, we were getting these 3-2 wins in Europe. We were beating Atalanta. Ronaldo was scoring the winner. We were beating Villarreal. Ronaldo was scoring the winner. But we don't want to see, I think Gary Neville mentioned it at the end of the game. It's great. We're all buzzing that Ronaldo scored an hat-trick. But we just won a game 3-2 when we should have really at Old Trafford killed Spurs off and won it 3-0, 3-1. And that's the difference when we come up against Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, where we're not going to get that sort of level of luck and those level of chances. There's amount of chances that we get against Spurs. So it's controlling the game in that midfield. I think we've all probably talked about it at some stage where we need a midfielder who can control a game and can sometimes, move it forward when it needs to move forward and sometimes slow it down when it needs to be slowed down. And today, Pogba had that chance, I think, without Bruno there. He had a chance to show what he was about and he just seemed to gas. He got to 55 minutes, 60 minutes, and I've been calling it Pogba time at the minute because it's just, come on, Pogba's time to come off. It's, he's brilliant. He's one of my favourite players. When he's playing those lovely 40-yard sprayed balls left and right, he's such a lovely player to watch, but he just got caught in possession too many times today, and it puts you on the back foot straight away. And that happened too many times, not only from Pogba, from Matic as well. Fred was brilliant. I thought Fred was good. Made a few mistakes, but he was positive. He was positive. He wanted to move us forward, and I thought he was good today. Yeah. But no, obviously the fullbacks were brilliant going forward. Yeah, Paul coming back, but when you're sprinting 60, 70, 80 yards forward to cross a ball, and then you're having to sprint 60, 70, 80 yards back to defend over a 90-minute game, it can take its toll. So at some stage, you need to control the game and give those players a little bit of a breath and a bit of a breather.
Yeah. We've got a comment from Karthik. So he says, "Say it, Abdel." I'm assuming he means Phil Jones in the six. Is that what it means? I'm privy to that. I think that's what it means, but I don't know if anybody's going to say I've just technically said it. But yeah.
When you think about what the team that Phil Jones was playing at when he first came into the United team, you look at that team back when he was it's a different team to what it was now. So
definitely
doing something right.
Can I just ask? So, guys, if we need a new midfielder and we sign one, who do we get rid of? Or rather, what is actually, how do I want to ask this? Basically, are we happy with everyone in our midfield, bar the one that everyone says we need to sign to start again next season? Or do we have to rip that up again and go towards profiles again, like Abdul was referring to? What do you guys think about that? Because I know a lot of people always say add a midfielder, but I'm like, this is kind of like the problem that when we make a substitution, it's like completely different. Like it's not the same thing. So essentially we add a midfielder and let's say we have Declan Rice in there. And then when we're switching things up, what do? We have to now move someone else somewhere else and then do something else. So what do you guys think? Do we have to rip the whole thing out and just start afresh?
I was going to ask a similar question to Fred anyway, so you've kind of led me in there. Very nice. You half presenting, beautiful, getting assistance. Yeah, I was gonna ask basically is is a midfield just as important as a manager in the summer, if not more?
Oh, I'm not sure, but if not more, it's a huge problem. I wouldn't say they're exclusive of each other.
Yeah.
In terms of the personnel, it entirely depends on who the next manager is going to be. Like the style of the play that they want to implement, the style of midfielder that they want. I think we need two midfielders. I don't think it's just a matter of throw a new midfielder in there and that's going to fix everything. And equally, I don't think it's a matter of just sign one midfielder and the whole team's going to be sorted. I think we need to address the fullbacks. We need to address the striker. Despite Ronaldo's game today, there's questions over the defence for obvious reasons. But in terms of the midfield, that's been the issue for X amount of years. We definitely need a defensive midfielder. The way I personally see it is that it's relative. Would any of our midfield get into that top three, Chelsea, Liverpool, City? You've got an argument for Bruno on his day. I don't think Pogba does, and that's probably to some people very controversial. Yeah. Not consistently. I touched on it earlier. With the ball, Pogba's one of the best in the world, but it's sort of like the 80-20 rule, isn't it? You've got 20% of the game with the ball, the vast majority of the games without the ball, and he doesn't offer you much. And in this league, you don't have time on the ball, and unfortunately, unless you can, release the ball and at a fast pace, or hold it up well, which I don't think he does as well as people think. I just think we can upgrade on that position. So. Yeah, I think we need a brand new midfielder. If we're going to play three midfielders, Bruno's the only one that I would say would stay. I think McTominay's progressed a lot under Ralph. Fred probably had his best game of the season. However, consistently, and if you're looking at a longer sample, so across the season, we haven't got a midfield that can challenge for the league, unfortunately. And just touching on the fullbacks, we haven't got the fullbacks that would get it in the league-winning team. The modern game, the fullbacks are arguably one of the most important positions in the team, and Reece and Abdul touched upon it perfectly. I don't think we have that system whereby the fullbacks know their roles. Maybe inconsistency of selection is the cause of that, but I think a big factor in that, and Reece touched upon it, is the lack of fitness in the squad. I don't think there's any coincidence that under Ralph, 90% of the time we play well in the first half, and then the second half we usually capitulate. Now, whether that's an issue with our strength and conditioning training or just the personnel just have a lack of stamina, maybe, Fred aside, I'd argue he's probably one of the fittest, if not the fittest member of the squad. It's a real issue. So look, Ralph's only been here 4 or 5 months, if that. In order to mould a team and solve all these issues, it can take a number of years. So hopefully it's the start of a new project, and we can instill that level of quality into the players. Or if not, we'll have recruitment is going to be a big issue this summer after we decide who the manager is. But the way I see it, do most of our players get into that Liverpool, City or Chelsea teams? No.
We need to redefine the definition of squad players, because I think that's also another thing that's killing us at United. Because the more we say McTominay is a squad player, the more we say Jesse Lingard's a squad player. I'm like, for what squad? What which one? Like, what is he going to do there? Like I would like my squad players to be at least with the same mentality, with the same sort of thing, which says, okay, I'm coming on to replace this guy, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. But for me, it's just too much to replace like Rashford with like Elanga. It's going to be different. Or I mean, it's cool to have different profiles sometimes, but I'm just saying, like, they always just have a different vibe about them. Like, someone is in form and a little bit like this, and then he's coming on for someone who is even in less form. Or sometimes we need to change something, so Mata's coming on, but he hasn't kicked the ball for 16 years, and then it's I don't know, it's a weird thing, which I'm like, we need to actually have a squad that's doing the same thing, and then we can call them squad players, because we're like, cool, like Origi is a squad player because he's coming in and you don't see as much of a drop off in terms of the style or what they're trying to do on the pitch. So yeah, sorry, I just had to come in and just say the squad player thing is just
No problem. Yeah. Did you say? I'm not chucking you off, but did you say you had to go? Or you?
Oh wow! Thanks, Simon.
Yeah, I'm not chucking you off. I'm not chucking.
Wow.
On
top of that, you even waited until it was like 44, 58, 59. Hey, Kai, you gotta go.
I just wanted you to be able to say your last piece, if in case you did have to go, because I'm mindful.
Yes. No, that was my last piece. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But thanks a lot, lads. I will see you guys soon again, and to the viewers, peace out.
It's been a pleasure.
All the best.
All the best, man. Cheers, man. Yeah. On Rashford, I wanted to pick up on anyway. Other than the second half, which I think everybody kind of expected a poor half, because that's just been the norm, hasn't it, for the last God knows how long. We've got one good half in us, and we arguably had that in the first half, even though it wasn't brilliant. And it kind of feels a little bit weird that to be even focusing on negatives when you've won a game 3-2 at Old Trafford, like in the manner that we have done. But I don't think we can ignore some of the misgivings of this performance and some of the players, I guess. So, but I wanted to ask John about Marcus Rashford, because he's had a bit of a funny week in the media, a little bit of rumours around his future, and I don't know who believes that, or how much we read into that. But as someone said in the comments there, and I can't read the name because I need my glasses, Apex, I believe, he said that we can only progress the ball down the left-hand side last season, and I think it's kind of the same this season, and Rashford's suffering a little bit from being on the right because Sancho's been so good on the left. I mean, is that part of Marcus Rashford's problem, or is there something deeper? And what did you make of his performance today, basically, John? I think it was a little bit anomalous, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he didn't do an awful lot. I wouldn't say it was a terrible performance, but he didn't. A couple of nice things he did at times, but yeah, he in the comes with the like the rumours with this week, he's frustrated, he's not playing well. Got an opportunity, say you need to take it. It's as simple as that. You're not been playing well this season, and to demand the place and say, well, you can only have a place in the side if you're playing well, and he unfortunately hasn't been playing well. As for today, he obviously got an opportunity. Like I say, it wasn't a terrible performance from him, but it wasn't like, I should be playing every day or every game rather. And basically, you just look at his body language and that he does look frustrated. He does. He's not bringing anything to the side. I remember there was one moment in the second half you can remember, when it was 2-1 up, and Ronaldo was the only player who had a shot, and Lloris made a save, and it fell to the Tottenham defender. He's just like, where's the other player supporting?
Yeah.
And the closest player was Rashford, who was closest to the halfway line than the goal. And you just like, you should be first a goal, even if you don't get on the end of it. You gotta try and support Ronaldo when he has that. So he had no other choice, But I just think it appears to me that for whatever reason, I don't know, but it's mental health and that, but to me, his head doesn't seem in the right place at the moment, and he needs to get his act together. He really does, and if he's considering his future now, there aren't many teams, top teams, who I think will want him at the moment. So wherever, I think Gary Neville mentioned in a tweet this morning where he's like, well, when you think of what he's done off the pitch, is being a Manchester United player will allow you to be front and centre almost when it comes to these things. If he goes to a club, I don't think a team like City or Liverpool will probably want him. In other words,
anyway.
there's another team, unless he moves abroad, then he's not going to join a team as big as Man United. And just, I'm not sure there are many teams that will want it at the moment. So if he wants a good future, he really needs to up his game. And I'd advise him, get your head down, and and just work hard. And unfortunately, I don't think at this moment he's working as hard as he can be. So, if you're out of form, just run, do what you can, and eventually you'll get a lucky break or something. But yeah, it wasn't a bad performance, but he didn't really. It wasn't a performance where you say I should be playing every week either.
Yeah, it feels like he needs not even just goals. I think like he just needs a good assist or something early in the game to just boost his confidence, because I think the longer he goes without really contributing, I think it does seem to be eating away at him. And he's obviously a confidence player. A lot of players, if not all players, are confidence players to some extent, but Marcus Rashford seems like he is more so than others. And obviously when things are going wrong for him, being a United fan, I think it probably does affect him more and eat away at him more, like I said. I think we should turn it around into some more positivity, though, because, the last 10 minutes, overall, really, the second half was a bit of a non-event, really, wasn't it? The first 15 minutes of it were just passed both teams by. And they got their goal. Like someone said before, I think it was John that said it was a gift of a goal for them. Maguire putting in his own net. Was he to blame for that, Abdul? Do you think?
No, I think the way we defended on the right-hand side was really, really, really poor. The way Son and Reguilón had that much space, that shouldn't happen. And even if Maguire didn't take the gamble to stop that cross, they would have buried it because Romero was ahead of our entire defense. Maybe we would get lucky and it would have been offside if he had scored it. But Maguire had to do that last-ditch tackle. Unfortunately, he just didn't catch the entire ball. He caught half of the ball. So it got directed toward his goal. But I will blame to anyone. I'll blame the team for putting their center back into that position, and the team being our right-hand side completely. Dalot, and I think it was Fred or Matic on that right hand. Fred, I think, and Rashford. So if you leave that right hand side exposed like that to such easy crosses, then you do expect your center backs to try and stop it, but you put them in a really tough position to begin with.
We're like most of the night, we're asking for trouble.
I think teams are targeting us there. Look at City last week. Bernardo Silva took out three players in one cross and it led to the goal. So you're right. There needs to be more protection because it's putting the centre backs in an awful position.
I think that's the main issue with United right now is the spaces that they leave in between their lines, and it's a structural issue. The manager can help it, but not help it greatly because of the profiles that we have, right? So if you want to play that position based and be in control as a team, right, you have to have a high line. And if you have to have a high line, you have to have a keeper that can sweep. If you don't have a keeper that can sweep, that means you can't have a high line. By that meaning, you have to return back. You have to be like a sort of a team that's in a mid to low block. You can't have a high block. And that means if your first half of the team is going to press and your second half of the team can't push forward because they're afraid of the space behind them, then you basically are not compact anymore. You have your team in two blocks, right? Chris Armas, I think around the 30th minute or something like that, I overheard it. And he told Matic to switch positions. He told him when Fred goes up, because when we pressed more into a 4-4-3, and by Fred pushing up, he has told him when the ball is near side, you have to switch with Fred so that you can intercept that, right? And vice versa. And because Matic has to cover that much ground when we press and that the back line is not pushing up, that is why United have so much gap. And the issue, yes, we say that buying one midfielder isn't going to solve it. But if you buy one midfielder and fix your goalkeeper situation, which you have, I'm not saying he's much better, but he has a better solution on the bench. All of a sudden, United becomes compact, and it becomes very difficult for anybody to break United. And now they can move up the field a lot more and become a more dominant, more in control team. So it's just two positions, and you can solve that issue of the spacing. The spacing is the biggest issue than anything.
Yeah, Brown now agrees with you essentially. Yeah. I think he did have to go for it, and I the narrative is going to be, well, it could have been that it's it could have been that it's Maguire's fault, and you think how much relief he's going to have that Ronaldo put that one away in the end.
Yeah, but make no mistake, Maguire is having a bad season, but so is the entire team. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's not the problem. He's just one of the problems. I said we were going to come on to more positive stuff, so let's do that. And Reece, you get to talk about positive stuff because it just happens to be your turn. Did you see that last 10 minutes coming? I mean, obviously Edinson Cavani coming on was a bold move, leaving Ronaldo on as well, taking Matic off. I mean, with us looking so susceptible to attacks, I mean, that was not a risk as such, but a little bit of a gamble. But obviously, a draw's no good to either team, and it's particularly no good to us. So we absolutely needed a win. So obviously, Cavani coming on, I don't know how much of an impact Cavani had coming on had in the grand scheme of us getting the win. But did you see that last 10 minutes coming? That winner coming basically.
It always seemed there, didn't it? I think it always seemed like a likely a potential event, especially with Ronaldo on. And I think he was in the mood, wasn't he? I think that was always a potential. We'd seen it enough times, even this season before, but without in his career as well, another 805 times. So he's he's definitely a potential chance that it could have happened. And I think Cavani coming on, if anything, it just shows the power that we've got in the squad. I know he's in his 30s now, but still coming back from injuries, it sends a message, doesn't it, in the last 10 that we're trying to get a goal. I think Rangnick's always been a fairly positive person with his substitutions. I think a couple of times it's worked. I think there was a time when Fred came on and he get the goal? I can't remember the game now, but I think he got a goal in the last 10, 15 a fair few weeks ago. But yeah, I think overall it was a positive move. Rangnick wanted to win the game. I think Rangnick will be a bit frustrated that again we didn't sort of control the game and win it, comfortably. But yeah, we did well, and I thought 10 minutes, we win with a chance, and we obviously Ronaldo got the chance and he put it away and got his second all-time Man United hat-trick. So
mad that, isn't it? Yeah. You'd think it was known for having braces. Like one of my friends was like obsessed with the fact that he always got braces. Like never scores hat-trick. He never scores hat-trick. Like, it don't matter if he's scoring 2 every game, but he's scoring 40 on a season. But yeah, it's a bit weird that he's never really scored too many hat-tricks. But yeah, it did feel like one was coming tonight, and I'm sure everybody went mad.
And that's quite Man United of old, isn't it? I don't know, we want to see us win games convincingly, and by 75, 70 minutes, the game's dead and buried and stuff like that. That's great, but that's not going to be us for a long time, is it? Abdul's mentioned that, we need, and Fred, we need to revamp. We need to look at the team. That, dominating games and killing games off early is going to be a long way off for Man United, but we've still got Man United. We've still got Fergie time in as our way to get a last gasp winner, and we did it. And yeah, 3-2. So we take it to the wire, don't we, for the top 4? So
yeah, well, that's everybody's teeing me up really nicely tonight. Thank you, guys. That was my next question. Basically, I kind of wanted to go around and say where does that leave us with the top 4 in everybody's opinion? I mean, just a quick look at the table: 4 games more played above Arsenal, obviously 2 points clear of them, and Tottenham, who I think arguably are our other main rivals. I'm going to say this now and touch some wood, but I don't think West Ham are too much of an issue. 5 points behind us and 2 less games played. But the main point in that is that Arsenal and Tottenham have got to play each other. Yeah, and I think Tottenham have still got a game with, I think it's Chelsea. I might be wrong here. But there's some difficult games that they've got to play to catch us up on their games. Like Arsenal got Liverpool this week, and Tottenham have got to go away to Brighton, which with Tottenham's form, which they could go there and destroy them, or they could go there and quite easily lose. So I don't necessarily think it's written in the stars that them games that they've got to play behind us that are, they're going to take us over on them. But it feels like it's hanging in the balance. Obviously tonight was much needed. But Fred, where do you see our chances now? Yeah, bearing in mind the fixtures of the other teams that are kind of competing for that last spot, arguably.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see it happening. I think we weren't, from what I've seen anyway, under in the last few months. From Ralph's tenure up until the City game, we had a fairly fairly good run streak or winnable games, and it wasn't very convincing. We should have picked up more points than we should. So personally, I'd be very surprised if we did manage to creep in. I actually, quite controversial, I think Arsenal are actually going under the radar. I think Arteta's doing a fantastic job there.
I don't think that's even controversial anymore. No, I think
no. I mean, as much as a lot of people joke and they look very shaky at the start of the season, they're playing fantastically well, and I think the no European football as well has been a huge benefit to them. So, unfortunately, it's I think it's probably just out of our grasp. We've also got to play Liverpool, Chelsea, and a few other teams, top 10. But it might not be the worst thing. Look, we all want to get European football. We all want to challenge, but potentially a season out of the Champions League, it might be a blessing in disguise. It can give us the opportunity to re-strengthen, get the new manager in. Hopefully, I won't go into it, but the ownership, hopefully they give or provide the right infrastructure and funds so we can build the team around youth, because I think that's what we need to do, and that's what Arsenal have done. And they're reaping the benefits of that. So, yeah, it might go down to the wire, but I think Arsenal, possibly Tottenham, might just pip us to it.
Yeah, we've seen that over the years, haven't we? With a lack of European football benefiting teams, and it really does make a massive difference. I mean, obviously Leicester won the league, no European football. I think Chelsea, when they won it a bit after, was it before that? When they finished 10th and then didn't get in Europe, and then they won it the next season. I think if I'm right about that. And it is obviously a massive influence that you play in less games. So I absolutely take your point, and I do believe that I don't even think it's an argument about Arsenal being one of the main contenders now. We've poked fun at them for years, and now maybe
hopefully Chelsea get relegated, and then that will make things a bit easier. So yeah, we'll see.
That would be mad, wouldn't it? John, your thoughts on whether the top 4 is on after that tonight?
I think, I mean, we had to win that game today, to be clear. If we don't win that game, we won't get top. So at least it's given a glimmer, I think. Obviously, like Fred said, I think Arsenal possibly the favourites for the top 4. At this moment, but like you say, they've got tricky games. They got to play Liverpool in midweek. You got the North London derby, and I think the result now. I know Tottenham have 2 games in hand on us, but we're 5 points ahead of them, and one of those games in hand is Arsenal. So and you can't ignore the fact also that we've still got to go to Arsenal in April as well, and. I think whoever finishes in 4th place is possibly the most undeserved 4th place finish, because I think United, Tottenham, Wolves, West Ham, Arsenal have dropped points consistently. I think we'll continue to drop points consistently. And it comes down to the point is, I think if there's any one of those teams who goes on a winning run, let's say wins 4 or 5 games in a row, that could be the difference. And I think it's given us a gun. I don't think we deserve the top 4. I wouldn't expect us to, but that was the most important game this season, and we needed to win, and we did win it. And Arsenal are favourites, but do they have the players to win you the game when you're in a tight game? United have Ronaldo as evidence today. So, like I said, it maybe in the long term finish the top 4 might be a blessing in disguise, perhaps. But in terms of top 4 race, I personally don't think we will. But I'm a bit more hopeful than I was before the game tonight, because, like I say, I think teams will continue to drop points, and I think Arsenal will drop points in the game you'd expect to win. So, we'll just have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Abdul, everybody's vying for this consistent run. Are United going to put one together to do it from the position that they're in now?
It's hard to see it. I'm not. I don't want to be negative, but I'm usually.
We just won 3-2. Come on.
But I mean, the performance wasn't like good. If we're being completely honest, like the performance was average, like at best. So I failed to see it. I think on previous show I said United have a 5% chance, and people were like on my case. But it's really that bad, because even if Arsenal lost all their big games, which includes us, right? I don't think we'll win our big games, and we still have Chelsea, Liverpool to play, and assuming we win Arsenal. So
that's if Chelsea can get to us, if they can put fuel in the coach.
That's true. That's true. I'll give you that.
That's fine. Game, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, it will, like we said, if it did come close, it will be like the last game, and like they have to lose and we have to win our game for us to, like, overtake them, kind of thing. Yeah. But they have a lot more time to rest. They have a lot more time to do the things that they need to do, right? Yeah. And to be honest, one thing I commend Arsenal on is that they supported Arteta in getting rid of all the players that he didn't want, and not buying into the hype and getting names that they shouldn't be getting, basically. Which helped them a lot. So basically, the recruitment was better than us.
It feels so weird to agree with that, but I do agree with you. Reese, your thoughts on the top four? I guess to kind of round it off before we'll have a quick run round of confidence levels for Tuesday night before we go. But yeah, your thoughts on the top four before we do that?
I want to end on a bit of positivity, really, but I think I agree with the rest of the guys. I mean, we mathematically we're still in with the shout, aren't we? So you've got to keep hope. And Arsenal, let's be honest, they've not been in a familiar position with top four, have they, over the last few years? So they're very much kind of in new territory again, I suppose. I think the benefit we've also got is that the top two are still fighting it out for the title. It's not a one-horse race now. So that could play into our favour with Arsenal obviously going to Liverpool soon. So obviously they're going to want to win that game and keep the pressure on City. So yeah, no, I think they've still got a long way to go. They've still got 13 games left to play. So it's a lot of games. So I know we've got 9, but it's in their hands, isn't it? Which means the pressure's on them, not on us. So as long as we've got a shout, then. You never know. But I think, obviously, realistically, it's Arsenal's to lose, isn't it?
Yeah, and hopefully they can truly Arsenal it up. Really, I think that's what we're hoping for. But the next big thing is going to the Emirates, I think, isn't it? I'm not sure how far away that is, but that is
23rd of April. It is.
To St. George's Day.
I'll have to tell my wife that we're not doing anything for her birthday that day. Well, it's the day before, so we'll be going out that night, I think. Yeah. Before we finish, then, I mean, obviously a great result tonight, and I know that we've had to touch on a few maybe papering over the crack sort of elements of it. Obviously, we're all delighted with Ronaldo's hat-trick and how it turned out, and it's euphoric when them good times do happen. But I think we have to handle things rationally around here, which is what happens. But the next big thing to talk about, and really like a one-word answer, I mean, because we're going to go now. But Tuesday, Atletico, I mean, other than the Champions League top 4 race, this is the last thing that we've got to realistically fight for that's, worth properly getting excited about. So Tuesday night, Fred, are we going to go through, yes or no? Go.
Yes, we are. Yeah. I think, hopefully we can channel the positivity from today, and that leads to a good performance. But I also think Alanga's goal was crucial towards the end. So, hopefully that will carry us over the line, and we'll beat Atletico.
Massively. John, more positivity, please. I mean, you're not forced to say yes, but yes or no?
Yes. I think it'll be a close game, but I think we'll go through narrowly, and I think Ronaldo, being Atletico's nemesis, will come to the fore. I think today's performance, wasn't a great performance. We got the win, and if you can't take confidence from today going into the game, you never will. But yes, I think we'll go through.
Yeah, we're ending on some positivity, aren't we, Abdul? Aren't we? Are we going through?
I'll say we'll nick it undeservedly.
That sounds very much like us this season, but yeah, I will take that.
We'll take it.
And Reese, your thoughts? I mean, you can't go against the grain now, can you?
I reckon 1-0 Old Trafford, Ronaldo. Why not? And
we're going to win the Champions League. Yeah.
Whoa.
We'll win it if we win this game, don't we? Yeah, surely.
Not far away then.
Yeah, I think we can nick it as well. I think it's probably going to be an awful night until the final whistle. But I think
stranger things have happened being a United fan. So
similar to tonight, where we've got the job done, even if it's been a little bit unconvincing. I think we can do it, and hopefully the momentum carries over. I was going to say something.
I'll be in the Stretford end, singing, bringing the ball into the goal. So yeah, I'll make sure that we win.
And I'll be sat downstairs jealous of you. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you to all the guests tonight. It's been a great chat, and you've been very hospitable on my first night hosting on the channel. To everybody watching, please like, subscribe, share, all that stuff that I don't have to do on a podcast, but I know I have to do tonight. But yeah, make sure you share the video and get everybody following All for United. Until next time. And which I'm not sure what the next video will be, but obviously there's some sort of preview for the Atletico game, and then I believe, is there a watch along for the Atletico game? I've heard murmurs of that. I don't know if that's true.
There's a show at 10 o'clock tomorrow. I think.
Okay, everybody else knows the schedule more than me. I'm drafted in last minute, so you can let me off. Anyway, yeah, we'll catch you next time, guys. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.